We're here today with Mr. Dave Hildebrand. He's a retiree from Eastman who, after that, spent quite a long time volunteering for Holston Habitat for Humanity. And could you just sort of say how many Habitat for Humanity houses were you involved in, or that you remember, or that you sort of estimate?
I would guess about 40 to 50 in that range.
And what did you do? What was your position or your job, volunteer job with Holston Habitat?
Well, I got into all aspects of recruiting workers and identifying physical needs for equipment and tools that were required for building the habitat houses, and finding skilled volunteers who were willing to pitch in and help.
And I understand you and your wife Edith met each other and eventually got married because you originally met at Eastman and went to some social events at the Methodist Church here in town.
First Broad Street.
But was she pretty deeply involved in Habitat also, in addition to you?
Just in support of me and the other volunteers. If there were a special need for a meal to be prepared, to introduce a new habitat family, or a social gathering, Edith would be right in the headlines getting ready for it.
And I understand you joined the team at Habitat not very long after Holston Habitat was founded.
About 2 years after the founding.
And it was founded in about 1985. Is
Let's
that right?
see. That'd be close enough. That'd be about right.
And you said there were some women who were instrumental in, and basically the main funding mechanism for Habitat has become the resale stores.
The Habitat resale store, and they generated a high percentage of the funding for the early houses that were built in Kingsport.
And you said the women who were there were 5 women.
Yes, Elizabeth Ann Hay brought the concept back from Americus, Georgia, having met the founder and had friends who were willing to help her
And
introduce Habitat to the Kingsport area.
and the other 4 women were
Joe Morrison, Marilyn Nations, Helen Keynes, Mary Ann Smith, and I'm leaving someone out.
well, no, that would be Elizabeth Ann Hay, Marilyn Nations, Joe Morrison, Helen Keynes, and Mary Ann Smith. That'd be 1, 2. That'd be 5. I'm sure there's a lot of other people who.
Oh, but these were the key people that came up with the concept of a resale store, and it was highly successful.
And you mentioned, I'm sorry, you mentioned that when you first came to live here at Asbury facility, that you met somebody who you had interacted with at the house for.
The first person that I met came over in the dining room and introduced himself and said his name was Joe Callahan, and I had built his house, and he thanked me for that
You have any advice
contribution.
for people who might be nearing retirement age or who have worked in construction and would like to keep active as volunteers? Would you recommend they consider doing some volunteer work for Habitat?
Oh, I would encourage them to get involved, and there are a number of projects currently underway that as volunteers would be appreciated.
And how young are you?
Will be 95 in mid-December of this year.
We appreciate your help. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
I can't think of a thing.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Hildebrand.
You're very welcome.